Well, hello everyone. See my design here changed. All right. Uh, all right. So thanks for tuning in into this new edition of the Hashnode Interview. I'm your host, Daniela Passos, DevRel Lead at Hashnode. And today we have a very special guest with us, Michael, a super seasoned developer at AWS AppSync. And we'll dive into a discussion on how to 10x your workflow with efficiency through video first content creation. It's all about leveraging visuals, enhancing your knowledge, and engagement with the broad developer community. So, getting things kicked off, I'll bring Michael to the stage. Hello, my friend.
Hey, how's it going? It's always good to be here.
Absolutely glad to have you here with us. I would love to get a brief introduction on you, your background, and anything fun that you can share with us today.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Welcome everybody. My name is Michael Liendo. I go by Focus Otter everywhere on the internet. Um, as far as background, let's start with my job title. I'm a senior developer advocate over at AWS. I work on the AppSync team, which is part of the front end web and mobile org. We do a lot of GraphQL, a lot of real time WebSockets, all that good stuff. But if we take a step back, I actually got into tech just after finishing my modeling career in my 20s. So I did that for several years, and that was a great opportunity to sort of travel the world. Well, I guess travel the United States. But then you get all of the fun things that come with modeling. Once that career took a break, I went over and switched to tech. I didn't join a boot camp. I didn't go to college or anything like that. I am self-taught. So I picked up a book one day. I went to a couple of meetups, and I have just been building ever
That is
since.
so fun. That is awesome. For okay, fun fact and low key curiosity here. For how long did you model? And what was the first language you got to learn when diving into tech?
Yeah, for sure. So two things there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, it's all good. It's all good. So I started modeling in 2006, and I went until 2013. Really cool. I started off in high fashion, and the interesting thing about high fashion is that you get paid in shirts and in like exposure, essentially, kind of like I don't know, engineering today.
That's
Um,
kind of like the basic influencer trick. Like, we'll get you
yeah.
exposure, we'll show you to the word. So that's tough.
So that was great. I mean, things like Tumblr were big back then. I don't know if they're big today, but that was great. And I did runway and all that good stuff. But the money was actually in sort of your lifestyle magazine. So I did a bunch of stuff for Groupon. If you search the internet, there's actually like a Depends commercial out there. I did like
Wow.
um yeah,
It's
but
awesome.
Motorola, Coca-Cola, I've done all that stuff before. Great time. And then the second part to your question was, what was the first language that I learned? Interestingly enough, I started off with Java, and I picked up a book on Java. It was the very first book. And I realized that I was really bad at it, so I gave up. And then I was going to be an iPhone developer. So I was learning Objective C because that was their language at the time. And I gave up. And when I finally got to JavaScript, I realized that every time I gave up, and I love telling this part of the story, like every time I gave up, I wasn't starting from ground zero, right? Because I picked up some things from Java. I picked up for loops in Objective C. And when I got to JavaScript, it was a much easier language. And I realized that a lot of those concepts transferred over. So what I thought was failure, that was my first sort of taste in learning that. That was just education, learning through failure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Fun fact about me as well. Java was also my first programming language.
Nice. And it scares everybody away. No, I'm kidding.
I remember in school, I went to uni for it, and a bunch of my friends were like, "Oh, this sucks. I suck at it. Like, I can't make this work, or I can't seem to understand it." But yeah, it's super fun to know that you also went through this whole path and this whole
Oh,
side of
yeah.
the story as well. That's awesome. Um, Now diving into some of the questions I have saved and prepared here for you today.
Love it.
Definitely want to know what led you to adopt the video first approach in content creation? I loved your videos. I see how creative and interactive they are. I definitely did tell you about this in DMs after our first workshop together. So let me know, how did you get started on it? How did that idea chime in your brain? And what was the kickstart point for you there?
Yeah, yeah. So, for those of you that are unaware, what she's referring to is in my presentations when I'm given a slideshow deck, and this started during the COVID era. I I hated the fact that I wasn't in person because, as you can tell, like I'm kind of an animated type of person, and so when I'm on screen, I can't see you all, I can't see your faces, and as an educator, that makes it really hard for me to tell if I'm hitting my marks, right?
True.
So what I did was I developed an application, basically an overlay, where I can export my slides and put them into HTML. And once it's on the web, you can do whatever you want, right? So I created another application where the audience could press like a thumbs up or a fire emoji, or like an exploding head emoji, and those would overlay on top of my slides in real time. And I would get 1,000 of those emojis just flying over my slides, which was really really cool. Um, and it got me thinking, like, how could I continue being interactive? Because as a developer advocate, we only have so many hours in the day to get our content out before it's, today's news, yesterday's history.
Mhm.
So I was thinking of organizing the way that I deliver content. Previously, I was starting with tweets, GitHub repos, and blogs. And that worked, but a tweet takes a certain amount of time to sort of craft, right? I mean, I can post out my garbage tweets throughout the day, but if I'm really trying to engage, I'm spending 15 minutes on it. And then we have GitHub repos. Our projects take time. And then we have blog posts, of course. Hashnode is fantastic in that aspect, but it still takes time because you're often presented previously, before Rick's, you were often presented with a blank screen.
Absolutely.
Now, I took that and I said, well, everyone says I should do video. I don't know why. Everyone says I should do video. So I started doing video first content creation, and I realized all the elements are there, right? There's picture. Uh, Sometimes there can be a live feed, but then you also have transcripts, right? You have the text. And then in addition, you have audio. So then if you have these, what if there was a way, and this was just before AI was taken off, what if there was a way where we could sort of extrapolate all of those different pieces and have those go wherever they were supposed to? The transcript would be turned into a blog post, right? It could also be summarized. Now, with the help of AI, it'd be turned into a tweet. And so I had the idea, but the tooling wasn't there. And then
Mhm.
now I've discovered the tooling and I have my pipeline. But I'll pause there before we dive into what exactly that looks like.
That's really, really awesome. And I love how did you take your approach, especially when presenting and sharing educational content behind a screen and having everyone interacting with you through those live reactions. So I love it. I definitely want to see more of that if you want to share. Um, but yeah, like I definitely would love to know more about the tooling that you use and what is your pipeline? How do you create and come up with ideas for those videos? Do you often repurpose the videos into blog posts and tweets? Like, what do you choose? How do you choose the strategy to go with there?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So when I discovered Video Tap, which is by Chris Sev, I think that's his last name. Um, Video Tap is a product, a tool, a SaaS application where it will just upload your video, and then through the use of AI, it will gather the audio from that. So then now you have a transcript. From there, it's just like taking text and put it into ChatGPT or whatever, right? It's like write a blog post based off of this text, is what I'm assuming that they're doing behind the scenes.
Mhm.
So then from there, I have a blog post, but I'm gonna put like a pin in that because I have to come back to that part.
Alrighty.
But then to move on to that, from there you can take that same transcript and say generate 5 tweets based off of this content. You can do the same thing with a YouTube description, and so you have this single text, right? This video, and now you have all of these different formats. Now the cool thing is that when it gathers that transcript, it knows what screenshot was on the screen, right? It's like if I was talking now, there's a still image of when I was speaking. So then if I'm explaining code, I can give a summary of the code, and then the AI magic is going to take a screenshot and show the code that I was talking about in my video that I can put into my blog post. Super cool stuff. But that's what that service does. It basically disseminates all of the different formats that you're trying to target. It's still up to you, though, to then put them into different areas.
Hmm.
And so for that, I use FeedHive, which is, and this is just sort of me in general. I love supporting small bootstrap companies. So VideoTap is small and bootstrap. FeedHive is bootstrap. I don't know if that they're small anymore, but for them, they do all the scheduling. You give them your tweets, you give them your images, and they will just and you tell them what platforms you're trying to target, right? Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Sometimes I do Facebook. I don't know what I'm
You
doing on
still do
Facebook.
Facebook.
I know I get made fun of because I live in a small town, so
Right,
everybody's still on
right.
Facebook. But that's another thing is it saves me time because I can develop one piece of content, one post really, and then that will fly out to those different connected social sites.
Hmm.
So there's a time saver, which I highly recommend people do in general. Is just schedule your posts. It's less time spending scrolling and more time just like
Absolutely.
actually creating the content.
Absolutely.
Um, and from there, that's pretty much it. But I did want to talk about the blog posting part because I mean, like, let's face it, you can tell when somebody has written a blog post just using AI. Like, write this blog post for me. It's usually very extravagant. It uses words like amazing and out of this world, and nobody writes like that, right?
Exactly.
So I would say what I love about AI generated blog posts is that they get rid of the blank screen, but it is still up to you to make sure that your voice is coming through because the last thing you want to do is come off as um, unauthentic,
Hmm.
right? You want to make sure that your audience is reading your content and watching your content as opposed to whatever AI can generate because then, I mean, what are they coming to you for, right?
That is so, so true. And I think one of the main points that we often see in AI blog posts or captions or scripts is that often, I don't know about you, but I have this perspective on browsing on TikTok that a lot of people are talking about the same issues, the same
Mm,
thing. So we don't see any form of innovation behind being completely unauthentic.
yeah,
Voice is the same. And for blog posts, we can see that all letters of a title are capitalized.
yeah.
What else? Like the wording and also the content distribution is very, very simplistic and definitely something that doesn't dive any deep or doesn't explain a lot of, let's say, very specific issues that we face as
Hmm.
developers or as content creators. So it's a great perspective. And how does this video first content creation approach different in terms of content creation strategies and audience engagement as well?
Yeah. So when you start with a video, I mentioned how you can take that video and turn it into written format.
Mhm.
What's great though is that you can take it and turn it into a podcast, right? And you can also take that video, and this is what like really flicked the light switch for me, is you can take that video and you can turn it into short form videos. So now I have segments, key moments where I was engaging with the audience, and or when I'm diving into a very specific topic, right? If it's 1 minute, which is YouTube's limit, or if it's a couple minutes and you want to go ahead and put it on TikTok, you can do that. Given that it was a 1 hour stream, you can have several pieces of content within there. And that's multiple points where you can engage with your audience. And again, if you're scheduling that stuff out, well, then now let's say I created one video. I now have 10 pieces of content, which is 10x in your workflow. I now
Mhm.
have 10 pieces of content that are just scheduled throughout the week. And I often get asked, Michael, how are you able to churn out so much content so quickly? Because I dive in personally on what I consider mid funnel concepts, beyond the basic type stuff. So folks ask me, how is it that you can create so much content and still create this very in-depth and technical um, video? And the answer is just using these tools and services to do all the work for me. And
Absolutely.
I'll be upfront in that I'm probably doubling, and I've said this plenty of times, is like I'm probably doubling the amount of work that I do because now I have to schedule and I have to export and all of this stuff. But again, I get 10 times the amount of content in return.
But think about it like in a perspective where you do not do that and you do not
Yeah.
split the videos into content. So that would be even more work as if we are just doing this and kind of like capitalizing on repurposing that content. So I see that more of as a productivity hack and saving
Yeah.
time. And kind of like, okay, it's not, but it is. It's great. And when thinking about video content and converting this video into multiple content pieces where they are tweets or expos or um, audio content or blog posts, how do you actually ensure that this video piece is still relevant and engaging for a broader developer community? Do you make like
Yeah.
this content, like do you focus on producing evergreen type of content that can be viewed in different times or still valuable, let's say 5 years from now? Or do you still like focus on what is trending, what are you going through, what kind of issues you're going in a particular moment? How do you choose what to target there?
Yeah, that's a super good question because when I first started putting content out there in general, I thought I had to do what's hot, right? I had to do what's in the now. And that's great, but to your point, that only gets you like a boost up front. But once that news is old news and it's no longer trending, then you take a serious dip in your content. So instead of writing coattails on whatever was the latest drama going on in tech, instead I personally focus on content that is just going to be everlasting. So if I show you a solution, the solution I'm showing you today is going to be valid a year from now, and you can make use of that. Now, I know plenty of developers that and slash content creators that would just consistently do hot takes, and
Hmm.
that's fine, that's fair, and I'm not shaming them. I'm just saying that that's not me. In order for somebody to do that, they have to constantly be engaged in those hot take scenarios to understand what's going on. And I just don't want to invest that much of my life into social media personally.
I mean, it's understandable. We already, as developers, and especially dev advocates, already spend so much time in front of our laptops. Imagine if you had 4 or 6 hours in front of socials every day. So,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
Oh, we have
And
some awesome questions um, coming in.
we do.
Let's see here.
Great. So, just asked, do you do this just for articles on your blog?
It depends on the video. So by going video first, if I'm doing a video series, well then now I have an article series. But what I have been doing more recently is creating YouTube clips, and I try to be very strategic in this. So I will give my usual YouTube talk and I'll show off whatever. But then I will prepare ahead of time a minute, and I try to time it as close to a minute because I focus on YouTube, because I like making money, and YouTube Shorts generate money. Um, so I try to time it for a minute or less, where I'm showing off one topic, and it's scripted, it's prepared, and if I don't like it, like if it doesn't fit within my video, then I'll just cut it out of my video. I'll go back to wherever I left off, but now I do have this clip that I can use. So it's not just for articles on my blog. I do this for any kind of content that I'm trying to create.
I love it. Now, talking about YouTube and content monetization, is
Yeah.
YouTube the main source of channel, like where you monetize your content, or and for how long have you monetized that in there specifically?
Yeah. I've been monetized on YouTube for 2 years now. Now it's not. I mean, I let's be real. I work at AWS, so I mean, I'm doing well there. But when it comes to YouTube, it is nice little side income. In addition to blogging, there's also a like apparel shop. So I have like Focus Outer apparel that I sell and all that good stuff. But
Fire. Okay.
discovery is how people make those clicks to buy. So if you're not putting out content, people aren't going to be finding your shop, and then now you have basically a funnel, right? And that's sort of
Hmm.
how you want to be thinking about this. Like, I had
Nice.
to make a decision. Am I going to create a blog post and then create a video based off of the blog post? And that was earlier what I did, right? I would say like my blog post is my script, and now I can just easily create a video. Cool. The problem is that what does your funnel look like? Because if everybody's going to your blog, how are you guaranteeing that they're going to watch your video and check out
Mhm.
your site to buy merch and whatever? It just kind of depends on what your goals are.
Nice. That's okay. One more question over here for first time video content creator. What is the best platform to get started with, and how someone can think about growing their audience in that
Mm,
specific platform?
yeah. Um, so it's there are two sides to this. So in terms of the best platform, I'm gonna come back to that one. But how can you grow your audience? I think this is sort of the key here. When you are putting out video content, you have to have a goal in mind. Is my goal to teach people? Is my goal to make money? Right? Those are typically going to be the top two answers. Like I'm trying to do one of those two. Or am I just documenting stuff for myself? Just like if I was writing a blog post, it's great that all of you can learn from it. But am I like, but really though, I'm writing that based off of something I went through. So if I ever have to encounter it again, I have something to refer back to. How that relates to video is you probably want to be starting on either YouTube or TikTok. And I say those based off of how long, the length of content that you plan on developing for. Right? YouTube has a huge audience. It's very saturated, but that doesn't mean that you can't find your niche. But be expected to churn out, a 5 minute video. How comfortable do you feel putting out a 5 minute video, or 15, or 30, or streaming? Right? All those options are available to you. But if you want sort of short form, the recent stat I heard is that the average attention span is 8 seconds, thanks to short form media, right? If you're great at that and you just want to do a quick little, here's my phone, let me explain a quick topic, bye, TikTok is going to be a great avenue for you. But I would decide between those two. I'm naturally more comfortable given a longer form presentation because my stuff is super technical. So YouTube is great for me. TikTok, I don't do so well. And it's either or.
That's be interesting because thinking about distribution and even cutting your video and 10xing
Yeah.
your workflow, you still make the YouTube shorts available on people's feeds, right? So
Yep.
how does that perform in comparison to your TikTok videos? Because at least for me and my personal side content out of the technical stuff, I would say YouTube shorts usually perform much better than TikTok.
Hmm.
And depending on the type of content and the type of audience, sometimes I'm targeting Brazilians, as I'm from Brazil. Sometimes I'm targeting US people. And for Brazilian people, TikTok performs best. For US Americans, YouTube Shorts. So do you have like a perspective around this, like also in terms of considering the target audience?
I don't, primarily because I focus so much on YouTube. Now,
Mhm.
when it came to short form content, I started off on TikTok because I wanted to do short form and that was the big thing at the time. Again, though, I like making money and it's a lot easier for me to monetize a YouTube short than it is a TikTok video. But that does bring up an interesting point is, and I don't think I answered this from the previous question, which was how do you actually grow your audience? And I think this is where TikTok shines because TikTok has all of those filters and engagement tools. And when people are scrolling on TikTok, it's much easier to find content that you like. And
Hmm.
hopefully you're staying on brand and not just developing or creating regular, everyday, sort of off the cuff content. Hopefully you have a pipeline because people are going to be coming back to you for the consistency. So, the number one reason that folks often don't grow their audience is they aren't consistent. I publish videos at least 3 times a week. Right? Those are long form videos. From those, I create at least 3 YouTube shorts. Again, just by cutting it up. I don't invest any more time in creating a YouTube short. And then something that often doesn't get talked about enough is an engaging thumbnail. Right? Nobody will read your blog post if it doesn't make them want to read it. You have to have something engaging. Now, I'm not saying create clickbait. I'm saying create something authentic so that way you have the right audience reading your content, and that will keep them coming back.
Nice. I love this answer. Okay. We have a few more minutes, so I have a long list of questions here for you. So I definitely want to ask a little bit more the audience piece. So, what kind of role does the audience feedback play when shaping new content pieces, and
Mm.
especially video pieces, and also in terms of your content strategy?
Yeah, yeah. You everybody has a list of ideas that of content that they want to create. And for me, I say on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, these are the videos that I'm going to create and these are the days that they're going to be coming out, right? However, what happens if I create a content piece on Monday and then Sophia in the audience is checking out my channel and she's like, "Hey, I really like that, but can you show me a solution where you take that same idea and tweak it to do something different?" Right? What does that look like? I have two options here. I could either just answer her question, right? Or I can make her feel special. And I can say, I'm going to create a video dedicated to your exact comment. I'm going to put that on the screen. I'm going to let everybody know I created this video on Monday. Sophia in the audience asked this question that I'm going to have displayed on my video. And from there, we're going to walk through that solution. That's an excellent way to grow your audience. That's how you make people feel special and appreciated and coming back, right? So when the audience gives you suggestions, that has to go into your backlog. I'm not saying stop everything and create it the very next day, but keep that in mind because that stuff does play a huge role in letting people feel important, and then they become longtime listeners and viewers that then become, I hate to say it, but like they generate income for you, right? It would
That's
be
true.
like if somebody went to a bakery and they were like, "I love this donut. I just wish it had more sprinkles." And then the baker's like, "Cool, bye." It's like, well, like I just told you exactly what I wanted to keep me coming back here, and you didn't do it.
Nice, interesting. Okay, a very last but not least question. And if you guys here in the audience do have any questions, please pop them up in the chat. I'll bring a couple of them to the screen. Um, but how do you handle specifically negative feedback
Hmm.
when posting videos and being so consistent? I imagine like none of those are flowers or positive feedback. So how do you handle this specific type of, let's say, yeah, feedback and comments and interactions with your videos and your audience overall?
I handle it poorly. That's how I handle it. It eats me up inside. That's um. You have to be you have to be the duck, and the negative comments are the water, and it just glides off your back. You have to. Now, this is easier said than done, right? It's like, oh, don't pay attention to the haters. It's like, well,
Absolutely.
it's hard because they just talked about my mama, so now I gotta find them and beat them up. It's like, no, it's difficult. However, if you're going to be doing this long term, you're going to get constructive feedback, and you're going to get negative feedback, and it's going to come with the positive, right? Take what you can from it, right? Not all negative feedback is without its gems, but also ask yourself, is there anything I can take away from this, or is it a troll? Right? Because we all know, don't feed the trolls. Don't engage with them. Don't reply to them.
Mm,
Don't try to make sense and change their mind. I was always taught, uh, when you wrestle with the pig, both of you get dirty. Right? That was sort of the metaphor that I had growing up. So I have to recognize, am I just wrestling with the pig here? Like they don't mind getting dirty, but I do. So let that stuff go.
nice, nice, nice. One more question from Sophia. How do you get ideas when you're facing a creative block? So you can think of an idea for your next video content. How do you overcome that?
Yeah. Fortunately, we live in a time where AI is really great at that. And if you ask, or if you tell it, like, hey, these are the last three pieces of content, what is a logical next step? Or give me five logical next steps. From there, now you have, excuse me, now you have a jumping board, right? Now you have a piece of content that you can find. And maybe you don't like those, but maybe it's enough for you to say, maybe not quite like that, but if I did it like this, or even better yet, ask your audience. They're already watching your content. What would you like to see down the pipeline? And your videos with that, your blog posts with that. Let me know what you would like to see next. Those are excellent ways to unblock yourself. And again, it takes the pressure off of you because
Mhm.
you're having other people tell you what you like based off of what you've already created.
Amazing. All right. To close our event off, I definitely want to ask if you have any final thoughts or any pieces of advice you can share with developers or content creation creators looking to start creating video content today.
Yeah, I would say one, find your community, right? That's going to be a big piece. Now, that can be other video creators, that could be a local meetup. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but you do want to make sure that you are not trying to do this all alone because then it's easy to burn out. You want to have a accountability buddy where somebody can say, "Hey, I got your back when things aren't going the smoothest." For me, that's going to be my final piece for all of you.
All right. One more question from Michael. Do you have any recommendations for video recording equipment, including audio?
Yes, whatever you have today. That's that
Great.
is that is the answer, right? Because the biggest thing that you will do, like when you first start, you're looking for every reason to not do it. And that's the hardest thing to overcome. It's like, I mean, sometimes I don't put out videos because I haven't gone to my barber, right? And that's just me. But if I'm not looking right, I'm not putting out a video. Uh, but honestly, whatever you have, use your iPhone. Okay. Phones these days are great. In terms of audio, headphones work great. If you're trying to incrementally upgrade your setup, start with the audio. Your audience will appreciate it. They can do fine with a blurry pic. Your audio should be the first thing that you upgrade. Okay? Then get your lighting right. Sometimes you don't need a better camera, you just need better lighting. And then after that, go ahead and upgrade your camera.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love learning from you. And those are very, very, very useful and resourceful answers to all the questions we all had over here. So thanks for making the time to join us.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the audience for engaging. I love it. I love it when folks are asking questions. It's always been a pleasure. Hashnode is killing it as always. If you haven't started your blog with them, definitely check them out. They're amazing. And VideoTap is a service that I use. If you have any questions, Focus Otter, you know where to find me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And let me pull you off the stage. All right, guys. I'm seeing here you guys in the audience loved it and had great insights from the session. So I want to appreciate you guys for a little second and thank you for joining us. So wrapping up another super insightful session of the Hashnode interviews. Thank you guys for tuning in, joining me, and learning together with me today. Huge thank you again to Michael for making the time, sharing his expertise, and amplifying our workflow with video first content creation. I love it and definitely going to be making use of a lot of his tips and tricks over here, especially the tools that he had recommended us. So it has been a true treasure to have you guys over here. So keep experimenting, keep sharing your knowledge, whether it's a blog post or repurposing that blog post into video first content creation. And until next time, I'm Dani, DevRel lead at Hashnode, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you guys next week for another insightful session of Hashnode interviews. Thank you, guys.